welcome to this edition of the podcast. I'm so excited to be joined by Stuart Ritchie. Stuart's partnered with UW and has been for quite a while. You must have started when you were 12, maybe?
I'll take that. I'll take that. Thank you. Well, yeah, I've been with them since 2007. So, yeah, nearly a couple of decades, isn't it?
Yeah, a long time. So do you want to tell people a little bit about what you did before and what got you started?
Sure, absolutely. Most of my background was finance industry, did a bit of property stuff immediately before joining. But yeah, and then I dabbled with a network marketing company at one point, shortly before UW. I joined in 2005 when I was looking for a job. But it was one of those stories that I'm sure people are familiar with where I didn't find the right company for me the first time. And I don't think I was quite ready for it. So it was a year's experience, but it did light my fire and it did show me what was possible. I went to one of their big conventions with thousands of people and saw people getting rewarded on stage and recognized and just wanted to be a part of that, but just didn't really have it in me at that point. I wasn't ready. So yeah, but it was a fire lighting moment.
Yeah, sounds a bit like me. I joined a company in 2005 and then switched because it
Okay.
didn't it just didn't fit my life. It didn't seem right. It just just something didn't align somewhere along the way. So yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to find your home, haven't you, I suppose?
You have, and I found UW in the middle of 2007. So I was on a property course, and the guy said, "Look, you've got property, you know people with property. This might be an easy bolt-on." And that's what it looked like to me to start off with. I never realised where it would lead. It was just a, why not bolt it on thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And how did you get on at the beginning?
So my sponsor very kindly on the day he recruited drove an hour and a half to come and see me. This was pre all the online stuff. He lived in Milton Keynes. He drove down to near Gatwick and he went through a few things in a short meeting. But one of the key things he did was he showed me how if you just get customers, your income's going to grow in a straight line. The more you get, the more you earn. But if you also build a team, he showed me how, as that team grows, it multiplies and multiplies, and your income grows vertically. And he said, which do you like the look of out of those two lines? And I said, the vertical one. And he said, great, go and build a team then. And I've no idea how many people he said that to. He may have said it to hundreds or thousands of people. But for me, I was like, okay, I'll do what I'm shown because it seems simple. I went on the training, they showed us a simple system. And on the way home from training, I was on the M4 because I'd gone to Bristol for my training and it was dark. It was about 10 o'clock at night. And my then property business partner, I rang him up and said, look, I'm bored. I've got, time on my hands. Can I just explain this to you over the phone? And I really badly explained to him how it worked with this short presentation that they told us. And he said he would sign up. So I was like, oh, okay. Like on the way home, somebody said they're going to join. And this is obviously they showed me what to do and it works. So I did that over and over again. And at the end of that month, the beginning of the following month, I got a tap on the shoulder at training to say, did you realize that last month you were the top recruiter for the company? And I was like, no, I just thought I was doing what they told me on training. So obviously that gave me a real shot in the arm of belief
I
because I
bet.
knew I wasn't good and I knew that I just literally followed a really simple system and spoke to a load of people. And I was like, okay, so if I do this often enough, then I can recruit. And that's, as you know, a big part of the mindset with the recruiting is if you believe you can, you can. And if you believe you can't, you have to try and shift that mindset.
Yeah, with everything about this business and this industry, it's that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just love the fact that you said from that day one, you just went and did what you were shown how to do. Because I did the same. I just
Right.
went out and this is what my big, 2-inch thick consultant manual said.
Yeah.
Go out and do these steps. And all I did was go out and do these steps. Now, you didn't know the perfect pitch. You didn't have a slide deck and a presentation. And I remember the days way back when, and you'll remember them too, when you had like a lever arch file that folded all the bits of
Yeah.
paper over that you had
Yeah.
to go through. None of that mattered.
No.
And I think we sometimes fall into this trap of it's got to be perfect, and I've got to wait till I know what I'm doing before I recruit anybody in.
Absolutely. I remember getting a call from somebody who I'd spoken to, and he'd spoken to my sponsor's sponsor at a networking meeting afterwards. So the person who introduced me, the person who introduced them, met this person. Unbeknown to me, years later, he told me that the reason why he rang me back, the prospect, was because the guy who was part of my upline support had actually explained it to him properly because I'd done such a bad job. This was one of my first recruits in that first month. I was awful and he didn't understand what I was talking about, but he liked me and he thought I was enthusiastic. And the guy that had shown him properly said, look, go and talk to Stuart because he introduced it to you. So yeah, even being really bad, people joined because they could see that, I trust this guy and he's enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's that enthusiasm and passion for what you're doing and the excitement that you can get across that does sell without the experience. And
Definitely.
I really do think that sponsoring, recruiting, whatever you call it, from day one gets you into the right habit from day one.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And if you don't know what you're doing, then there are people that will step in and support those new people because that's the other fear, isn't it? I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And, luckily I had a sponsor that was a little further ahead than me that could answer the questions of the people that I introduced. One of my most successful recruits in that first month is somebody who realized very early on that I didn't have a clue what I was doing. We were both joining within 2 weeks of each other. So reached out to my sponsor and said, what do I do? And my sponsors showed him some basic things and then they kept in touch. And that's what people have the fear about is one, can I recruit? But two, when I do, how am I going to look after them? And that's where the support comes into play.
Yeah. Do you know what? I had a little bit of that support, but the people I was bringing in, we were all too far away from our uplines.
Right,
So I was proper winging it.
right,
No idea what I was doing. I was just saying, well, I'm going to learn how to do it so you can learn with me. And that worked just as well because we learned together and the things that we didn't know, we looked up. We learned from watching what other people in different companies were doing because ours was all party plan. So
right.
we were going to the other parties in the town, looking at what they were doing and thinking, well, do you know what? We could do that as well. And just kind of learning on the job as such. And I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sometimes people have good support and other times they don't directly. But
Yeah.
as you say, there's plenty of support out there, whether it's other companies or whether it's cross line, as you call it, in other teams in your company,
Mm.
or if the company puts on training. And I definitely didn't know what I was doing for the first 6 months. I was definitely feeling around in the dark. I probably didn't ring my sponsor as often as I could have done because I know he would have answered the phone, but I'm quite a self-starter, so I was like, I'm just going to get on with it. And then it was probably 6 months down the line. In fact, it was 6 months and one day, because that's when I hit one of my promotions and I got access to a course. And I sat there on the course at lunchtime. I was chatting to the guy that ran it, and I said, I wish I'd known this 6 months ago. And fun enough, they decided to bring that course earlier for people because they realized that some people need it earlier. But yeah, I was feeling around in the dark for that first 6 months.
Yeah. And where has it taken you then? So 20, nearly 20 years on, where has it taken you, this network marketing journey?
Wow, crikey, yeah. So I haven't had a proper job for how many years now? 14 years this year. This is not a proper job, is it?
No, it really isn't.
It's following your passion, helping other people, doing all those great things, and it doesn't feel like work, and that's been a joy. I was able to give up my day job in 2012 and concentrate on building this full time. But what that's also given me is I've got kids that have, when I joined, were very, very small, and they've been around me all of that time. And I've been able to do the school events, I've been able to do the taking time off during the school holidays when that's such a difficult thing to do. And just the joy of being able to be there when they need you, whether that's because it's for fun stuff or whether they're going through a tough time. So it's massively created time freedom and the luxury of being able to sort of do what's important around work rather than having to sort of ask for time off and all that stuff that people struggle with sometimes.
Yeah. And it's the life-changing stuff as well that this industry brings us, the holidays and the opportunities and the people.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a fantastic team of people. I'm really blessed. I've worked hard and they've worked hard, but we've got some great people. And for me, I do get, I take the money. It's the Jim Rohn quote, isn't it? I'll take the money if you keep paying me the money, and that's really nice. But it's actually things like I did a session with one of my team back in October, and we have a weekly or fortnightly call together, and he was looking at his goals for 2026. We were starting to think about that. And I asked him about obstacles that might be in the way. And his biggest obstacle was, do I deserve success? Am I
Oh,
worthy of that success? And he was going through that doubt. And I said to him, okay, tell me some of the things, because I know he's been successful already. Tell me some of the things where you are proud of things that you've achieved in your life so far, particularly since you've been with the company. And he reeled off list after list after list after list of these things that he was so proud of. As a person, how he's changed through personal development and the work that he's done on himself, how his life's changed. He's now married to the love of his life. He's, helped so many people. He listed this off. We were both moved to tears. It was just so powerful. And the beauty of that was he then printed that out. He's got it by his desk just to remind him every time he needs. He's flying in the business now because he's just switched that switch and now believes he is a success already. And things like that, I mean, I'm getting emotional talking about it now. Things like that are the rewards that we get that are way more worth way more than the sort of financial rewards that we get.
oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. Helping other people grow as business owners, but as people as well, and seeing that belief come through that they can actually be successful and then get the success that they've been wanting is just the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
So that belief is so, so important. And we know this. We
yeah,
were talking about this before. And, you know, was there a point in your business life when you didn't have that belief?
absolutely. And even though it was going well early on, there was still an amount of doubt. And I don't know whether it was because I was going through a tough time with the property business that I had. So I joined in 2007 and 2008-9, the credit crunch hit and I got decimated. I went bankrupt in 2009. It was a really, really tough time. And that probably carried over into my experience and my confidence within UW. But there was a guy in the business who was a mentor of mine at the time, and we worked closely together. He just looked in my eyes and he said, I can see you've got a little bit of doubt. What is it that you've got that's holding you back? And actually, what turned it round was working on myself. The culture of personal development actually aligns with the story I was telling about the guy in the team who I was working with. Personal development for him and for me has been the turnaround thing. Doing that reading, associating with the right people, listening to the right things over time started to build my confidence. Then getting to the events and seeing other people just like me and thinking, well, if they can do it, maybe I can, and all of those things. And then doing the work and actually going to work and doing stuff that then pushes you a little bit out your comfort zone and stretching a little bit every day. And yeah, even things like I can remember being on stage and given my first chance to speak because I'd got a recognition and I had my notes in my hand and I was shaking my hands and you know now I stand on stage in front of a few thousand people, but that's 18 and a half years down the line and I love it and I'm not nervous at all. But that was a really slow, gradual journey over that time. And it's the business gives you so many opportunities to grow that I'm so grateful that I've had that.
Yeah, I think that's what some people don't realize, do they? They see this success and this outward show of confidence, shall we say, that
Yeah.
has been built over time that they just want straight away and don't understand that actually this is a process.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we did for our January kickoff event, so we run a January kickoff face-to-face event for the team, and we asked the speakers to bring in as many failures and learnings that they'd had throughout their journey. And that included those of us that have been in for a couple of decades nearly and still have made mistakes. And because that whole vulnerability and that authenticity, the audience sit there and go, "Oh, okay, I thought she was a superstar and he's a superstar, and how do they actually they make mistakes like me? Crikey." And that really does make it so much more relatable for people. And I always, you love seeing people that are succeeding, but actually sometimes you want them to just stand up and say, "By the way, I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes," and their ego doesn't always let them, but if they can share that vulnerability, it's so powerful for people.
Yeah, people forget that people who have got to the top have made the mistakes.
Mm,
They haven't got there without making them. They've got
and
there
still
by
do.
making them.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
still make the mistakes.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah. I
right.
mean, I make mistakes regularly, but I'm quicker to learn from them these days. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Still making mistakes here as well.
definitely, definitely.
Yes. So I know that we both work very differently when it comes to building a business,
Hmm.
building a network marketing business, but we both do it in a way that aligns with us.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were having a discussion just before this podcast, and I thought we need to talk about this
Okay.
because I think it's so important that people understand there is not just one way to run a network marketing business.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to do it, and you don't have to harm your reputation or a company or an industry reputation to do it.
Absolutely. That we definitely are aligned on.
Yes, yes,
I love
totally.
your network marketing without the ick because there
Yeah,
are some icky practices that I prefer to avoid. Yeah.
yeah. Go on, give us some examples.
I mean, crikey, the biggest one that's come up recently has been send 50 to 100 cold messages a day to your team as a strategy. And that well, it doesn't align with what I want to be as a person and how I want to teach. But that just does damage to everybody. It it
Mm,
it doesn't connect with the person and build a relationship. And I know you're very keen on, this is about building relationships. Doesn't have to be for months and years, but building relationships and then offering opportunities when you think you've got a relationship where you can help that person.
yes.
This is just throw mud at the wall, see if it sticks, annoy 99 out of 100 people. And yes, you might find that one person, but what have you done with the 99? What does that do to your reputation? What does that do to your company and the industry? We're all affected by the techniques that some people use to get to the top. And maybe that aligns with a few people and maybe they've got to successful places. I know some of them talk about it a lot on their social media. This is the way I build my business. But for me, it's much more about having quality conversations with people. And yes, you can talk to a lot, but you need to build that relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And you are very much of the same lines as me when it comes to this.
Mm.
That whole build the relationship, offer opportunities to help people to solve their problems, and make this about them and not you.
Absolutely, absolutely. But where we do, so you deal with a lot of people and you have, as you say, an understanding about the different approaches. We were talking earlier
Yeah.
about my approach to recruiting and team building is it's absolutely a people thing and it's
Mm.
about relationships and it's about people and you care about the people, but as far as possible, you don't care about the outcome. And that's
Yeah.
hard when you're new because you're getting more no's than you're getting yeses.
Yeah.
And people then start to attach a story, which is, I'm no good at this. And they normally use
Yeah.
language that's more powerful than that. And once that story gets embedded, it's very difficult to recruit if you have told yourself that you're no good at it.
Yeah.
And my approach is very much to ask people to consider have you ever learned to do something? Like I usually use the driving analogy. Have you learned to get in a car when you didn't know what you were doing and you had somebody supporting you and you were prepared to make mistakes and you knew occasionally they grabbed the steering wheel, but you wanted to get to the destination. So you were learning how to do that and giving yourself permission to be
Yeah.
not quite as good as you will be. And then eventually if you passed your test, you're probably driving along the road, like looking in the mirror occasionally, listening to the radio, singing along to whatever tune is playing, and not even thinking about it. And so I encourage them when they're struggling with recruiting to think, I'm learning to recruit is the first
Yeah.
mindset shift. And then they can make mistakes and it's
Yeah.
okay. And then they can feel, actually, I'm getting better. And then eventually they may well get to the point where they're like, I'm really good at this. One of my colleagues describes it as being a lean, mean recruiting machine, is the way he sees himself, but he didn't start there. So, from a mindset perspective, that for me is how I ask people to shift. But I also try and get them to think about Go for No, the book by Richard and
Yeah.
Andrea,
Yeah.
and just understand that they're going to collect no's and they're going to collect yeses. And you can follow up on the no's later and you can help the yeses now. And if you do that and you can take the emotion out as much as possible, it becomes much less of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I know it's easier for some than others.
Yeah. Definitely. I think, and I say this a lot, that method works so well for probably half the population.
Mm,
The other half is very much, I am a total people pleaser. I hate it when people say no to me. I need to find another way of doing this.
Yeah, yeah,
But you're still going to get the no's.
yeah,
And it is all about detaching yourself from the no's, isn't it? It's totally moving that feeling that you've got around it all being about you,
yeah,
and they're saying no to you. They're not saying no to you, they're saying no to the opportunity.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think moving that shift in your brain so that you can go and speak to people about this, then it's an absolutely amazing thing to do.
yeah.
And yeah,
You've probably
I
come
think.
across, go on,
Go
carry
on,
on.
sorry.
I
There
was
you
going to say,
go.
you've probably come across Paula Pritchard, who's written some great books, but one of her books that she spoke about the clock face in terms of motivation for prospects, and I find this helps people when they're struggling with when things are, people's decisions and the outcomes. So very briefly, the short version is if you imagine a clock like an old-fashioned clock with 12, 3, 6, 9, top right-hand quadrant, those people think life is perfect. If we prospect them, chances are they may say no, not because we did a bad job, but because life is perfect. Bottom quadrant, 3 to 6, on the right-hand side, they've got niggles. Catch them at the right moment, they may join. 6 to 9, that quadrant have got problems that if you come to them, maybe they've heard there's going to be redundancies or their business is having a bit of difficulty. You approach them, they'll probably join. You didn't get better at it, they just were in a better place. And then, or in a worse place in that instance, though the motivation was
The place
higher.
for joining.
Yeah, and then the 9 to 12 quadrant on the top left, those people, the stuff's gone so wrong that they're out there looking for a solution. And if you aren't the person they approach, if you just happen to stumble across them, they will probably bite your hand off. But understanding that that is what drives whether people join, as long as you've got a good heart and you're actually going at it with their intentions and what they need as the primary focus, that frees people up from feeling like it's my fault. And the other thing it does is, have you ever had anything in your life change, like things get better or things worse? Like if you look
All
at
the
the last
time.
5 years, all the time.
All the time.
So do they. And they might not join today because life is perfect, but 3 months' time, 6 months' time, something could have changed. It might be a birth, it might be a marriage, it might be a divorce, it could be a new job, it could be anything. But when stuff changes, if you're there and you follow up, then you'll probably be the person that they come to when they're looking for an opportunity. So just free yourself up from the responsibility and remember to always build that relationship and keep in touch so that when they're ready, then you can be there to help.
Yeah. And this is the thing about building those relationships and keeping those relationships warm and not just about, I need you to join. Because
Yeah,
if that's all you're thinking about and that's all you're going in with, it's never about them.
no,
So why would they ever think about you when it comes to their time changing?
yeah,
Because when they're in that place, they're going to think of that person that wanted to help them, not the person who wanted something from them.
yeah. It's written
Yeah.
across your forehead as well. If all you're
Yeah.
focused in is what's in it for me instead of what's in it for them, they can sense that energy. So
Yeah.
as much as we're new and we want to recruit people and we're keen to get going, even from day one, the focus is how do I find out what might be troubling this person and see if I can offer a solution rather than how do I sell my business opportunity or,
Yeah.
sort of whatever it is that I've got to offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm glad
The
we're
other day,
aligned. Yeah.
yeah, the other day I had somebody drop into my inbox to offer me an opportunity. And it
Okay.
definitely wasn't an offer. It was more of a, I can see what you're doing online. You need to join me because I can give you this. And I want you to join my team so I can have you in my team, basically. Like, really? You've just done, I don't know who you are, never met you before, not even in my world. Just add friend, drop into message, that. Thinking, what the heck? Who is teaching people that?
Yeah, yeah. Sadly, some people that have got to quite senior positions in
Mhm.
certain companies in the industry, and that's their, and I think that's the sort of thing that flashes and explodes and then falls apart as well. If you're teaching that sort of system to people, it will get you short-term growth because you do enough of anything, people will join, but it will just be the culture that you're creating is not sustainable. I'm very much, I've been with this company for 18 and a half years. I'm very much about building something that's solid and sustainable and that's going to pay you for years and decades. And, the business is willable. just been updating my will recently, so my kids know that they've got this passive income stream that carries on when I'm no longer here. That's why I'm building the business, not to make so many thousands this year. It's to make long-term income that changes my life and my kids' life forever.
Yeah, which will only come by keeping those relationships built and building more. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And having the systems and processes in place so that it's duplicatable all the way through your downline,
you are
which
speaking to the
you've got.
converted.
Yeah, yeah. You are hot on systems and processes and habits, Stuart.
I very
One
much
reason I got
am.
you on here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, literally, I know, and it's James Clear who wrote the book Atomic Habits.
Oh,
He
genius
uses
book.
this.
Is that behind me?
I'm sure it is. I've got a box full that need to go up on a bookshelf because I moved not that long ago and the bookshelf hasn't gone up yet. But James Clear, Atomic Habits, and it's a quote that many will have heard if they've read the book, is that we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And by systems, he means habits. And yeah, how we feel day to day, moment to moment, definitely can, if we're not focused on systems, it can have a big impact on how productive we are. But the more we can make it just part of our identity, this is what we do, these are the habits that I'm building, then the more we can actually push through despite those challenges. Again, coaching one of the team, and it was probably about August, September time. He came to me and he said, look, I've been out of the business for a couple of years. I want to get going again. And the first conversations we were having were, okay, tell me about what your habits have been in terms of, like, he used to go to the gym a lot. He wasn't doing that. He used to be sort of almost teetotal and he was drinking alcohol more than he used to. He wasn't listening to personal development. He wasn't doing small things like plugging into the team Zooms or getting onto any other calls. He wasn't getting around people that were doing the same sort of thing as him. So we looked at, where do you want to get to and what do you need to shift in those habits in order to get you where you want to go to? And he did realign those things. Now back at the gym, he's now not drinking alcohol. He's now eating healthier. He's now plugging into the calls, doing the personal development, and got an agreement in his mind about this is what I do consistently in terms of activity. And he has days where sometimes it's not possible, but he has way more successful days. And again, he's flying in the business because he realigned his habits to align with the goals that he said he wanted.
Yeah, so important and something that I teach as well. Having, even if you are not motivated to do something,
Mhm.
if you have the process to do it, doing the process and seeing the results will then motivate you anyway.
Absolutely.
And and if you haven't got the processes, the motivation isn't there, you won't do the things.
Yeah.
I remember I went through a stage, it was a good few years ago now, but my husband would bring me a coffee in bed and I'd lay there and I'd get my phone out and I'd start scrolling and I'd drink my coffee. And he'd go to work and it'd get to 9 o'clock and I'd still be in bed,
Right.
just doing nothing. And then I'd come downstairs and think, well, my first appointment with somebody one to one isn't till 11:30. So what shall I do? Oh, sit down and watch the telly.
Yeah.
Like just you fall into these bad habits
Mm.
if you're not feeling it or when something goes wrong you get out of a routine by going away, even just like, going away on holiday or having half term off with the kids, coming back, you out of the routine, out of the habit. It's like a slippery slope, isn't it? It's bizarre.
It can be. And actually so I've had various business coaches. My most recent coach, one of the things he was very keen to stress was, if you're, like, for instance, you said you've got something happening like going away, or it might
Mm,
be school holidays or whatever it might be, is to lower your expectations for that period. Whether it's a holiday, it might be zero. If it's half term, it might be, well, the kids are going to be with me more than before, so I'm only going to do 25% of what I normally do. But set your expectations at a level that you can still do and not feel bad about. People often beat themselves up because they're not doing 100% of what they did last week. But last week there were no kids around, and this week it was half term. And so just set your expectations at a level you can do so you feel good and you just keep it going. And then when you come out the other end of that thing, so let's say you've been away on holiday, don't try and go back up to 100% habits in week one. It might be 25%, it might be 50% in terms of what you would normally do, but set that expectation knowing you've got to rebuild the habits afterwards, and then you're back up to
yeah.
whatever level you normally get in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, it's so important. The one thing that I always do and teach my clients to do is to set the first actions they're going to do when they come back
Yeah.
in the diary, ready to go, so that you know exactly what you're doing. So you're not sat there twiddling your thumbs on that first day thinking, oh, I don't really know where to start.
I stole that idea from you recently. It was on one of your podcasts, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I pretty
Yeah.
much I've remembered the wording that you said. So yeah, absolutely. That's a good discipline because otherwise it's quite easy to be the end of the first week back and you've done nothing because you didn't have
Yeah.
that in the diary. So thank you for that. I steal my ideas from everywhere and a lot of them are coming from you at the moment because I align with what you're saying.
Do you know what, Stuart? There isn't a lot of ideas out there that are different from anybody else's. All my ideas have come from somewhere else, from
Yeah,
1970s Tupperware days to things that I learned in the industry, to things I've picked up from my business coaches, from things I've picked up from my students.
definitely.
And it just goes round. But I think you've got to be ready to hear it. And the person who says it has to be the person that you're ready to hear it from.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And people get fascinated by their teammates when they're not ready to hear it from them. And for whatever reason, it's a bit like when your parents tell you to do something, you don't listen, but when somebody else's parents do, you're really responsive. So people plugging into trainings like yours and your communities and things like that, if they plug their team in as well, then those people are going to get to hear the message from you. That's probably the same message their sponsor said, but you come without the same relationship, without the same potential of bias in their mind,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah, yeah.
free to listen because they know you're just doing it out of wanting people to learn and grow rather than sort of, oh, you happen to be in my team, so you must have an agenda. And I know people don't, they're doing it with good heart, but you make it accessible. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
And sometimes it can be just something that is said in a slightly different way.
Hmm.
And the people have just go, oh my gosh, I get it now. Or a different surrounding area, or, it's just a different time of day.
Mm.
I, I remember I say the same things over and over and over again in my mastermind and my membership, over and over again. And there was a lady there the other day, and she went, God, I've never heard that before, what you've just said there. I was like, not going to say it, but yeah, you have several times. And I think I've said it on one-to-ones with you as well, but I'm not going to say anything. I said, oh, brilliant. Great, you've got it. Amazing. Go and do
Yeah.
it.
But it's like, and I've heard people say, and I've experienced it as well, you can sometimes read the same book later on,
Yes.
having gone through a different experience in between times, or even not having experienced anything different, but just literally picking up again with a fresh set of eyes. And you can, that wasn't there the first time I read this. Yeah, how can I not have remembered this whole chapter about something that was really important? So yeah, it's you've got to be in the right place, and the message has got to come from the right place to hear it as well.
Yeah. I think also that they call it new level, new devil. So you'll hit a place in your business that has got really tough and you'll
Right.
get through that and you'll build your next level of confidence. Everything you hear from that point will have a totally different meaning from the stuff that you heard at the point below.
Right.
But when you go back to the conferences and the trainings at that level, you're hearing things from a totally different aspect.
Yeah.
The next level, same thing happens again and again and again. So going back and looking at things with your new different level of leadership head on, or different level of business, or after a massive failing, it's fascinating.
At the extreme, also, one of my colleagues who's just been promoted to a senior level in the business, he did a interview, and one of his top tips was he has 10 books, personal development books. They're the only books that he reads over and over again. He cycles through these 10 books whenever he needs them because he knows that those fundamental things that he's listening to are critical for his success and he needs to keep reminding himself of that. And it doesn't mean he doesn't listen to the odd thing like a podcast or other input, but when he wants to sit down and read, he's got a structure. He's a very structured guy like me, and he literally reads those 10 books over and over again. Which I found fascinating because that's way more discipline. I mean, I'm disciplined, but that is way more discipline than me. Yeah.
I think that's where we massively differ because you are so disciplined with
Right.
your systems and structures, and I'm kind of half wing it and half structure.
I realised though that I did used to, or I wung it in the past, as you said on one of your podcasts recently. So yeah, I think I've become more systemized and more about habits and more about trying to eliminate how I feel out of the equation
Yeah.
over time. You're definitely right. It's not easy for everybody, And it's
No.
definitely not easy when you're new in the business. And that's the sort of thing to remember. When you feel like you've got a different level of confidence when you've been in for a long time, you have to remember what it was like for the new people when they didn't have that. So yeah, I'm always trying to be sympathetic to that and put myself in their shoes because it's been a while. And yeah,
Yeah, hasn't
yeah,
it? Yeah, I keep thinking that. Gosh, so long ago since we started.
definitely.
So we're going to leave it, but before we do disappear, what one tip would you give to somebody who's in the industry, wants to make it big?
Somebody that wants to make it big is to learn that principle about you are the average of the five people that you associate with the most. And if you want to make it big, you need to find out how can I get around the people that I align with that have got where I want to go. And
Yeah,
that align with bit is really critical. There will be people that have got there that don't align with how you want to do it, and you can learn from them, but often it's about the bits that I don't want to do and just cherry pick the bits you do. But if you get around people that have got that level of belief and they are a role model for you and you plug into them, whether it's calls, whether it's face to face, whether it's reading their books if they brought books out, then you are much more likely to become the sixth person in that group of five in terms of success because you've spent your time around them.
yeah, you're so right. Yeah, definitely. Thank you
Fabulous.
so much, Stuart, for coming on and talking to me
You're
today.
welcome. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. And whereabouts can people find you if they want to come and stalk you on socials?
LinkedIn is always good if you want to connect with me on there. You can put the link in the show notes if you want, or
Yeah, we'll
people can
do.
find me. It's Stuart with a UA and Ritchie, Ritchie. People usually drop the T, but that's Lionel rather than Guy. So yeah, Stuart Ritchie on LinkedIn. I've just launched a new TikTok channel, so if you can find me on there, feel free. But it's very new, very embryonic. So you might find on the new channel that there's some stuff that you want to sort of observe and see how that's going on. So feel free to find me on TikTok as well. But I want feedback on that one because that's a brand new experiment. So yeah,
Oh, good luck with that. TikTok's a whole new kettle of fish.
it is. I'm learning lots. I'm learning lots. Yeah,
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. See you soon.